Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Ashley and today I'm going to be updating you on my progress in the Pan Those Eyeshadows series. So this was actually created by Alexy here on YouTube, and in the past couple of years it has gained an amazing following of both YouTube content creators as well as Instagram content creators who really took to this series like fish to water, and I understand why. This is probably my favorite project that I'm doing this year, and I think probably my favorite project that I did last year. Essentially what you do is you randomly generate a specific number of shadows from your collection to work on. For most people, they're trying to hit pan. That's what I'm doing. And then once you've achieved a goal, you roll on to the next. So let me first grab my phone because I'm realizing that it is next to me, because we're going to need my random number generator. So I do also maintain tally so that we can see exactly how many times I've used a product. For me, that helps to build in accountability, but also, especially these days, my memory is not what it should be, right? I would be like, gosh, I feel like I've used that so many times, and then I'll look back at the tallies and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I really didn't. So it really helps me to see how often I'm using different products, and also when you look at how many times it took to actually hit pan. It's so interesting how different formulas and different brands and things like that have such vastly different numbers when it comes to those types of things. So I will stop rambling and let's go ahead and jump into the very first one. So we're going to start with the eyeshadow that I gave the least amount of love to, and that comes from my Tarte Toasted palette. So I randomly selected this shade here. Ooh, I am probably blinding the heck out of you. This is a very, very reflective palette. So I chose this shade right here called Flame. It is a beautiful, very fiery, coppery red sort of color. And it is right here. I mean, it's gorgeous. It really, really is. I don't know why I've only used it 4 times, but that's how many times I've used it. That sounded super, super weird. All right, so yes, it is still in the project, obviously nowhere near hitting pan, but that's okay because it is something that I do enjoy and hopefully will get more usage out of in the next stint. So the next least used shade comes from my Dominique Cosmetics Original Latte palette. I had randomly selected the shade Creme Brulee, which is this center metallic shade right here. This is the shade that I am wearing all over my lids today. It's absolutely beautiful, and I do think I am getting closer to hitting pan up here in the top. That's where I tend to focus my brush, but we don't have any pan there yet. I used it a total of 7 times since my last update, and this is what we're looking like right there. Again, beautiful, beautiful. If you haven't used Dominique Cosmetics, it has a really, really lovely formula, at least in the palettes that I have used, and I am happy to keep this in. In fact, this is basically the only eyeshadow palette that I have on my eyes today. I take that back. I do have this shade from this palette and one from another palette, so that doesn't make any sense. But along the outer edges, I have the blue shade from that palette. In the crease, I have a lighter brown shade. It's a really, really nice everyday sort of palette, but it has beautiful pops of colors so that you can really take it outside of the box as well. Really, really like it. So the next most used shade is going to be this right here. This is coming from my NYX Avant Pop Palette, and it is this shade right here, this second one. I used it a total of 17 times since it was last updated. In fact, I rolled it in last time. So that is what we're looking like there. It's definitely looking nice and roughed up, but I don't think we're anywhere near hitting pan. It's a very easy shade to use. Actually, let me go ahead and swatch it for you like I've done everything else. It's a very easy shade to wear because it basically has no pigment to it. So typically what I will do is I will just put it in my crease as a transition shade. Yeah, I don't even know how well you're able to see that. and build everything else on top of it. So it really doesn't serve a lot of a purpose. I'm just using it to be using it basically. So that leads us to our next most used shade, and that is coming from this right here. This is my Tarte, I call it my Origami palette. So this actually was used, only 15 times because, you know, math. But I am going to be rolling it out this update. So the shade that I have is this shade right here called Starry. It is this matte shade, and it's really nice. It's a very, very warm mid-tone brown, but Tarte matte shades are so densely pressed and firmly pressed. I have used this 45 times and I am nowhere near hitting pan. Nowhere near hitting pan. So based on my rules that I set forth at the beginning of the project, I said that if I use a shade 45 times and I haven't hit pan, I do have the option of rolling it out. And I think that's what I want to do here. This was actually in my original intro. So this was one of the palettes that started in the project back in January. So it's June, I am really ready to work on something else. So this is going to go back into my collection and be loved again later. The last palette that I have here is my ABH Sultry Palette, which, by the way, how did I not know that this was a limited edition palette? It's not available anymore and my heart is seriously crushed. This is one of my very favorite ABH palettes, and actually it's one of my favorite palettes that I have, and I'm so sad that you cannot get it anymore, and it really made me kind of seize up a little bit and be like, ooh, do I want to be using it? And of course the answer is yes, because it's stupid to have it and not use it, but I was so sad. Anyway, the shade that I have been working on is this shade right here. It's this matte cream in the shade Fresh. It has a minuscule microscopic baby pan. I have no idea if you'll even be able to see it. I hope that you can. But yeah, so because I have hit pan, I'm going to go ahead and roll this out, obviously. But I have made a decision when it comes to, oh, and I'm sorry, I used it 23 times since the last update. I've made a decision when it comes to rolling in new products. I said in the beginning that I was going to not work on any matte white or pure black shades, because black shades, I don't use them anyway. White shades, they're kind of tricky to use, so I kicked them out from the get-go. And I think I'm going to do the same thing for shades like that are just matte cream color shades. That's the second one that I've had since January, and I'll be honest, they're boring. You guys don't like seeing those updates, at least I don't feel like you do. I would much rather be updating you on interesting colors and interesting shadows and textures and things like that rather than matte white, matte cream sort of shades. So when I go to roll in 2 more shadows, or moving forward, if I roll a similar shade to that, I am just going to go ahead and re-roll. I hope that makes sense. So with that being said, let's go ahead and roll a new set of shadows. Where is my pretty random app? I still have not added the additional, where did it go? Oh, there it is. The additional eyeshadow palettes that I purchased over the summer so far. So I do still have my same variables. But yeah, so what are my variables? Hold on just a second. Alright, so as I was saying before I got so rudely distracted, is that I have not yet put the additional palettes that I've purchased over the last couple of months onto my spreadsheet. So we're still working with the original variables from a few months ago, which is lines 2 through 1857. I have a feeling once I add all of those palettes on, I'm going to be over 2,000 pans of eyeshadows in my palettes, which is insanity. Whew. Anyway, okay, so in my pretty random app, I do have those variables. So let's go ahead and randomize. No, randomize. 67. Oh, that's a small number. Okay, so where does 67 come to us from? Okay, all the way to the top. Let's see, 67. Nice, comes to us from my BH Cosmetics Love in London palette. I have not gotten nearly enough use out of that, guy, so that is super exciting. I'm very glad for that. All right, and then so for the next shade, let's go ahead and randomize that. 25, wow, little tiny numbers. So 25 comes to us from from my Color Theory Copper palette, which is by Persona Cosmetics. Ooh, okay. So let me go ahead and jump off camera real quick. Let me grab those two palettes and then we'll take a look at what those shades look like. All right, so here we are back. I've pulled both of those palettes. So number 67 comes to us from the Love in London palette by BH Cosmetics. I really do like this palette quite a bit. It's full of cooler toned shades, and the shade that I chose here is called Crumpet. It is just kind of a cooler toned, deeper brown shade. So this will definitely be around for a while. There we go. Now these will all so far work very, very well together. From my Persona Cosmetics Color Theory Copper palette, I chose the shade Brick. That is definitely a very, very warm, reddy orange sort of color, which obviously, given the palette and the name, no surprise there. Let's give you a good old swatch of this. There we go. So again, I think all of it will work in conjunction with one another. So that's super nice. But again, I'm going to be living in the warm toned realm, and most of my looks will end up looking very, very similar because I will try to be incorporating as many shades into one look as possible to try to make some good progress on them. So I can live with this. It's not the most interesting array of colors, but it definitely gives me an excuse to break into both of these palettes more than I have, because like most everything else in my collection, I buy it, I use it, I love it, I buy something else, I use it, I love it, I buy something else. It's who I am. I'm trying to slow that down, but at the end of the day, it's still who I am, and I'm okay with that. Anyway, so I hope that you have enjoyed this update. I hope that you're having an amazing day, and I will see you next time. Bye.